What is going on, everyone, and welcome to Stock Rank. My name is Johnny and it's so good to be with you all, and today we are going over one of the biggest debates when it comes to investing. Should I invest in stocks or real estate? Let's go ahead and get started. So if we're honest with ourselves, I think we all can tell that the market has completely flipped since a couple of years ago. And with that, real estate prices have skyrocketed. They've gone through the roof, no pun intended. And it has just made this debate, I believe, a lot more difficult. And so the reality is, of course, that we want the biggest gains, but we also don't want the risk that comes along with these huge gains. So when we go ahead and look at real estate, we can see that housing market has absolutely taken off. But also, if we look at the bigger picture, I mean, interest rates are still really, really low. Real estate prices are going to steadily increase, which is why real estate is such a great option. And another cool thing is that you can use real estate for rental properties and be able to get passive income on the side. Now, of course, when we talk about stocks, and I'll get to that later, but dividends in comparison to the passive income that you could be getting right off the bat, it doesn't really compare. I think you can get a lot of passive income that comes from real estate in comparison to the dividend. But at the same time, if we look at the realm of stocks, the Dow Jones has been at an all-time high. The NASDAQ has been near an all-time high. The S&P had hit a record all-time high. There's just so many things that are growing for stocks that's like,
all right, when is this going to stop? Or when are we going to be in the time of correction?
It's almost like an expectation that something's going to happen either in the housing market or the stock market. And even though there are certain stocks that are at their all-time highs, we can also see, especially with the retail investors, there's plenty of stocks that are not at their all-time highs. So what exactly is the true answer to this? It depends. I do want to give a couple of scenarios that could help determine whether or not maybe one investment is better than the other. And so the first question that you have to ask yourself is, how much money do you currently have? I actually watch a lot of Meet Kevin, especially his financial perspectives on things. I think he does a great job when it comes to his own research and presenting that to his audience. But there was one thing that I want to be able to expand upon when it comes to his idea on the real estate and stock debate. And so what Meet Kevin actually believed was that if you had $10,000 right off the top of the bat, then just throw it into a property. And I think that that could work. Of course, it definitely worked for Meet Kevin, but I do want to share an issue on that. So let's just say that you had $10,000 and you took all that $10,000 and you put it into a property, but then out of nowhere, an issue came up with the property that you were owning. How would you be able to cover for it? If you weren't prepared for that, you would be in a lot of trouble when it comes to being able to pay something off. So if I were looking to put money into a property, and this would be my first time doing this, I would follow something along the lines of a 6% rule. And so basically what the 6% rule is that it is going to be 6% of the purchase price. You would pay 5% and then use that 1% as the side money in case you need to put any kind of rehab costs or maintenance for the house. So just to play with some numbers, let's say that you had $200,000 for a property. If you were to use the 6% rule, then you would have about $2,000 to work with when it comes to the rehab. Now, of course, when it comes to these different things, you also have to consider certain things like the closing costs, as well as if you're trying to make this into a rental property, you're probably not gonna be able to do it with 5% down unless you were living in it first. There are certain rules in terms of how you can do that, but I suggest doing your own research on the areas that you live in, as well as what certain lenders will allow. So let's say that you had under 6% of the purchase price. If that was the case for you, it might be a good idea to put it in some stocks and let that grow for a little bit until you have enough money to put it into a larger asset like a house. And so the second question that you have to ask yourself is, how much money do you save? There are plenty of people in the world that are living off $100,000 a year, but yet they're not even saving 10% of that money. And so it's really important to ask yourself, how much money do you save and not how much money you make? And so personally, if I wasn't saving a lot of money, then I would rather throw it into stocks immediately, so then that way it can grow a lot faster than putting it into real estate. And the other thing to consider, especially right now, is that we are living in a market where it is really difficult to find houses that have a lot of equity in it. So the last question that I want to be able to ask myself, and maybe you can ask yourself the same question, is how much time do you want to spend? Now, of course, if we were to look at it, you're going to spend a lot of time no matter which investment you're going to be looking towards. The difference is in a matter of how much time on the front end versus throughout the time that you own the investment. So if you're willing to spend more time in the front end researching, then it might be a good idea to look into individual stocks, because you are able to do as much research as you can, and then when you put money into the stocks, you're not going to be doing as much research. Of course, you'll still look at certain things, maybe like the conference call or maybe a news article once in a while. But real estate, it can be really difficult because certain things can just come out of nowhere and you have to be prepared to make a decision in a split second. Yeah, you may not spend as much research on the front end, but if you were the one that was owning and taking care of this property, you're gonna spend a lot more time being able to take care of the property in comparison to stocks. However, if you're willing to spend more time in order to get good passive income, then real estate might be a good idea. As I said before, not a financial advisor, but when you have passive income, it could really help being able to not only cover all these different repairs that you could possibly have, but also be able to put that money somewhere else. So if I were in the position where I had to choose between stocks or real estate, and this was my first time making a decision like this, I would choose to invest in stocks because of the fact that I am trusting and putting my confidence in people who are experts in the fields that they are. But I mean, if you have the opportunity to be able to invest in both, then I think that that would be very beneficial for you. You never know when something changes in the stock market or when housing prices are going to remain the same. I mean, we don't know what's going to be happening in the years to come. And so with all that said, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you don't mind, would you consider hitting that like button and subscribe button and comment down below what you would prefer to be your first investment. Hope you guys have a great rest of your weekend, and we will see you in the next one.